SMG4. It's undoubtedly one of the biggest pillars in parody animations, or at least in Mario ones. With the first few episodes being made in around mid-2011, SMG4 started out as a small little series of bloopers made with an emulated copy of Mario 64, and it turned into something much, much bigger. But unfortunately, that's where the problems start to come in. Yeah, for a lot of people, the larger scale of Modern SMG4 has caused the series to gradually decline in some people's eyes. Combine that with controversial redesigns of the characters to make them more copyright friendly, lackluster writing and more, and according to some, you just have a series that's begging for the Oswald treatment. This is an issue I see brought up on Twitter about once every 2 months, whether or not classic SMG4 or modern SMG4 is better, and as someone who grew up on that one dumb fuck phase in the middle, I don't really know what to say at the moment. So join me as we look at the pros and cons of each type of SMG4, and by the end of this, hopefully we should have decoded just why some people dislike modern SMG4 so much. Spoiler alert, I'm one of those people, kind of. Now, classic SMG4 I would generally consider to be from around 2011 to 2017 to 2018. Then there's that weird fluke in between, but it's kinda like modern SMG4, but also not. It uses a lot of ideas of modern SMG4, like long story arcs and genuine characteristics, but still uses a lot of the green screen Mario 64 clips and same general comedy style. I'd say this area lasted around 2017-2018 to 2020-2021, right around the time of the YouTube arc and when Melody was introduced. Every episode after that I would consider to be modern SMG4. Classic SMG4 clearly had a much bigger emphasis on trying to be as funny and as goofy as possible, but hey, that gave it a really fun vibe. In all of these videos, it genuinely felt like Luke just had a lot of fun just dicking around in Gmod and seeing what kind of funky shit we would be seeing today. These videos feel a lot more fast and frantic, but they never really feel like they have any filler. They get right to the chase and never really feel like they overstay their welcome. But there are some downsides too. For example, this style of humor and a lot of the topics / references they talk about in these videos are incredibly dated. Like, have you ever tried to rewatch Freddy's Spaghetteria today? It's so old they make references to the damn How to Make FNAF Not Scary series. Nobody remembers the FNAF Not Scary series. But of course, there's also a lot of pros. For example, old SMG4 feels much more embracive of its parody roots, compared to now SMG4, where it strongly feels like it's trying to go for its own thing. Both are interchangeable and are entirely up to personal preference, but in my opinion, I do slightly prefer the older take on things. As dated as it is, it felt like it wasn't really trying to hide anything. It knew what it was and gave you exactly what you wanted. Quick bursts of mind-numbing fun over something that kinda resembled a story. The fluke in between, in my opinion, is where a lot of SMG4 classics were born. Mario gets his penis stuck in the door. Mario goes to the fridge to get a glass of milk. If Mario was in Baldi's Basics. If Mario was in Cuphead. Mario works at McDonald's. All certified staples of the SMG4 channel. And of course, around this time was when they started the first major arc in the series, the anime arc. It started quite goofy, but then turned into something much more serious as time went by. I personally feel like you need to be fully in the moment to fully appreciate these arcs. From the teasers to the build up to each episode, to discussing them with other people, it just all clicks. Just simply rewatching them doesn't really do them justice, and when put into the context of simply an SMG4 episode, it ends up feeling like too much of a subversion. When you're actually part of the hype and such, it actually feels a lot more natural than, well, it really is. I personally believe this was where SMG4 peaked, as it struck a good balance between originality and still being a parody. Back in the day, there were quite a few people who got frustrated at Meggy's human design, but I personally never saw it as a problem. They were clearly trying to push her as her own character other than just the Splatoon character. And then we've got modern SMG4, which is a lot more focused on arcs and storytelling and trying to be as original as possible, to the point where they literally got rid of the location the entire series took place in and replaced it with this. Yeah, even though I think the classic SMG4 purists are sweaty keyboard warriors, I have to side with them here. There really was no point in changing it other than for the sake of being original. Modern SMG4 feels a lot more like it's trying to be much more ambitious of itself, which sometimes isn't a bad thing, but it can also be quite frustrating when we see the stories sometimes get a lot more complicated and convoluted, and maybe want to focus on other characters, when in reality, we just kinda want to see Mario dick around. Now don't get me wrong, I'm fine with more complicated stories and maybe some episodes focused on other characters. In fact, I feel like it can work really well, and often at times, it does work really well. But in my opinion, it has to feel earned. Like maybe there's a bit of build up to it, or maybe there's an arc or something. Hell, once we took way too many drinks and tripped on the make it a whole damn show button. But nowadays, the emphasis on the other characters don't really feel like an event. More like, we wanted to make an arc about dear god anything but Mario, so we decided to give an entire arc to the cat fucker. The emphasis on other characters just kind of feels more like something that's expected and done for the sake of writing a different character, rather than that they had a legitimate reason for doing so. Now, is this because I don't want characters besides Mario? No. SMG4 wouldn't be SMG4 without its shitload of random ass characters. But I don't know, it's just kind of getting to the point of being excessive. Now, the critiques of classic SMG4 are far less prominent, but believe me, they do exist. Classic SMG4, as stated before, is far more dated compared to the more recent episodes, and don't really have an actual plot compared to the more recent ones. It's more like Mario does a thing and it never really goes beyond that. Even the modern SMG4 episodes that appear to be structured like this are far more story focused compared to the old ones, of which was just kinda like funny stuff kinda happening. So it's a lot harder to appreciate older SMG4 for modern fans, seeing how dated those old episodes are, and how different it is to the modern stuff. This is where the SMG4 community is kind of split. A war about which one is better. The old versus the new. So, which one is better? I don't fucking know, just like what you like. Both come with equal upsides and downsides, and in the end, it'll always come down to opinion and preference. And objectively speaking, it's incredibly impressive that Kevin and Luke were able to keep supporting this series for 14 whole years now, so changes are inevitable when something lasts for that long. But if you had to ask me which phase was my favourite, I would personally say the fluke in between. I think we just hit a good balance between comedy and story. But that's just my silly little opinion. Overall, you like whatever you want to like. And SMG4, at the end of the day, it's SMG4. It's not like we were robbed of those old episodes, you can still go back and watch them. So yeah, SMG4, you're cool. In some eyes, not as cool as you used to be, but I still have massive respect for you being able to keep chugging along for all this time. Also, SMG4 Expander's Brain is the best episode in the entire series.